Welcome to the podcast edition of the Basketball Show. I'm your host, Paul Sir. Really glad to have you with us today. We have tremendous discussions going on about the WNBA, about the upcoming Olympics, Canada's Olympic team, USA Olympic team, all kinds of great stuff. Plus, we have Libaan Osman, who's going to talk to us from Las Vegas. He saw the U.S.-Canada exhibition game the other night, and he's been watching the Las Vegas Summer League as well. So I think you're going to enjoy this podcast. Thanks so much for listening. Settle back and let's talk some hoops. We're going to have to change that. The Hoop City 3x3 was last week. It was a huge success. Just a tremendous weekend, but we'll talk more about that later. Welcome to the Basketball Show. I'm your host, Paul Sir. Happy to be joined by Ryan Reed, Brian Swain, and in studio, Reed Clarke. You can listen online at sports1440.ca, listen live online at sports1440.ca, or listen to our podcast on the Stingray Podcast Network, or however you listen to your podcasts. Our text line is 833-401-1440. There are lots of topics in the world of basketball that you can talk about today. Send us a text if you have any questions or observations. We'll get to them as best we can. Ryan, what's our poll question?
Related to the WNBA Rookie of the Year race, we have a poll on Twitter, basketball_show. Who should win the WNBA Rookie of the Year? Caitlin Clarke or Angel Reese? There's not really another option. We did put other, in case you want to throw another option in there. Tongue in cheek, but Caitlin Clarke and Angel Reese, rather. So far, 75% of the people say Caitlin Clarke.
Well, that's off to a start. That'll be interesting. We're going to dive into that later in the show as well. But the first topic we're going to jump at this morning, there was a lot of attention paid to the fact that the men's Olympic teams from Canada and the United States met this past week in Las Vegas, Nevada. We got our first glimpse of what the Canadian talent looked like, and we also had the USA team, which is kind of a Mount Rushmore of NBA talent. That does not necessarily translate to the Olympics. It's a huge factor, but it's not the only factor that's going to determine who rises to the podium and claims gold in the upcoming Olympics in Paris. Joining us is Reed Clarke, as I mentioned. Reed is the CEO of Sport Edmonton. And Reed, you were there.
I was there. Thanks for having me, Paul. I had the pleasure of being down in Vegas. You think it's hot here? It's hot. Trust me.
That's a different
it's
kind
hot
of
there.
hot.
It's a different kind of hot there.
Yeah.
But I was there. Yeah, I just got back yesterday from seeing the game. It was something special.
Okay, so something special. Number one, I went to, I think the last time, if I'm not mistaken, the last time the USA and Canada Olympic teams met in Las Vegas, and that was in 2008. So it's a long time ago. But here we are 16 years later. You're there. One of the things that was similar, though, is that they brought out both WNBA and NBA greats. Special moment, right, Reed?
It was really cool. I mean, one thing kind of blew me away is USA Basketball, I think, is only celebrating 50 years. I think it was 74. I thought it'd be older than that. I just assumed it would be. But they brought out legends from the WNBA, NBA who've played on the teams, and they kind of did that over time. So you saw, like, there was guys we would remember. There was Grant Hill, John Stockton. Kids probably don't know now because they only hear them in rap lyrics. But they're really cool legends of the game. All these old school. I mean, Cheryl Miller. I went crazy when Cheryl Miller came out because she's just
incredible.
A legend. So they did a really good job kind of hyping it up. And the crowd of Vegas, like, you know, I would say 2 hours before the game was outside ready to go. Everybody wants to see, Curry and LeBron warm up, and that's price of admission right there. Just to see Curry do what he does on a layup line is something special. So they did a really great job. The crowd was pumped to it. Some kind of things that I don't know if people saw on the broadcast or not, takeaways. I mean, they really don't like Dylan Brooks, and I knew that he's a villain, but the whole country's against him. They were booing him every time he touched the ball. And then LeBron went at him. He came back right at him. Like, he is fearless. He does not care. So I thought that was really cool to see.
Yeah, I mean, you got to witness it firsthand, but I think down there, it's kind of like somebody going with a ball-peen hammer to Mount Rushmore and chipping at Washington's face the way Brooks has gone after LeBron.
That's what he does. Well, and also, one more thing. When they opened the game up, they did the for the Canadian national anthem, like they just played it. They didn't have anybody sing it, which kind of irked me. I was like, this isn't Turkmenistan.
A little bit of a snub?
Yeah, a little bit of a snub. I'm like, they sing the Canadian national all the time with Golden Knights games and everything. So I'm pretty sure they could have found somebody there to do it. So
yeah, I don't think there was any shortage of singers.
There was talent. There's definitely talent around. So it was really cool to see that and to see Canada get off to lead. I think they started off 12-1. Like they were moving the ball. They were on a run. The team was playing good. And even as the game got, I think it was only about a 9 or 10 point game. You didn't see Shea play anymore. You didn't see Jamal play anymore. But Curry, LeBron were still in there. And I was like, this is still a game. I think we still got a chance here. Let's get the boys back in.
I think Jordy wasn't playing his hand.
Yeah.
Jordy Fernandez, who I'm referring to, is the head coach of the Canadian national team and now the newly appointed head coach of the Brooklyn Nets. To me, that's one of the X factors that the Canadians have going for them is they have a coach of Fernandez's quality. What we saw the other night was a snapshot. We saw an opportunity, but like I said, Canada less so than the States did not play their hand.
Not at all, and I think he wanted to get, he got the scrubs in there, and there's a few CBL talents and guys who've been part of the national team forever and want to get them in their chance to play because they might not have too many more games to get in there. But if they would have played him, a little bit longer, they weren't shooting that well, either the guards, but they can still go off, right? I mean, that shooter's got to keep shooting, and as somebody who's there, excited to kind of see the moment, it would have been really cool to see that kind of come through.
Yeah, I thought it was kind of interesting as well that Canada was treating it like a true exhibition game. They really did. And with the U.S., what I found this is what I found interesting, that it was maybe the worst quarter of basketball by an American Olympic team.
Could have been.
No, quarter number one was abysmal. But this is what's going to be, I think, challenging with the U.S. You've got obviously the old and the new. You've got the legends and the contemporary players. And by that, I mean LeBron versus, say, a Jason Tatum.
Yeah.
How is Steve Kerr going to manage this team to maximize its tremendous firepower, but how is he going to be able to manage minutes and productivity? Because the one thing that I noticed throughout the whole thing, and this is something that a lot of teams struggle with. And one of those, I think, is the Edmonton Stingers, is playing so many people that how do you get a groove going? So what were your thoughts?
Well, I mean, I'll say for the eye test, like everyone's talking about Anthony Edwards and putting him in, should he be starting? I mean, how can you not? Like, he stepped up at the moment. He was really calm. I think you can drop Curry in at any point. He just plays with such a fluidity. The guy seems like he has no care in the world. He's just out there enjoying the game. And so I think whatever kind of minutes you want to do, you need to get a spark, drop him in there. How are you going to manage LeBron in the whole team game is going to be interesting because I think he's got to start. I think you want him to start, but
he's going to start.
He's going to start. I know he's going to do that.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of other options, and when you can bring in Tatum and then Holiday. He had a few kind of lockdown possessions. It's really going to be interesting how they want to work that, and they're playing I think 5 exhibition games. Like they left right after that game to go to Dubai to play a game, and then they're going to London and playing. So I think they're going to really try to work it out and see and match up against the teams. But it's going to be tough to see that, right? But I don't know if it's me. I think you play Ant and you play Tatum as much as you can.
You have to play Ant. You have to play Tatum. I think you have to play Curry because the one thing about the FIBA game is that's. I was trying to come up with what I think is the correct terminology. FIBA is real basketball. The NBA is entertainment basketball because of all of the rules. And I'm very tempted to put words in front of rules like silly, childish. The defensive 3-second rule is one of the worst rules in the history of the basketball game because it's done for such obvious reasons to give advantage to the offensive player. And now all of a sudden they have to play real basketball, which means you can have big guys in the middle. Can you imagine playing France now in a 2-3 zone where you have Rudy Gobert in the middle and Wembanyama on the wing defending, and you don't have to get out of the paint? I mean, the changes the States, they're still in my mind, the clear-cut overall favorite, unquestioning. But there are external factors that are going to affect not just their ability to play well, but also give advantages to other teams who are maybe not as talented, but are really good basketball teams and can utilize the FIBA game to their advantage. Plus, it's only 40 minutes long.
Well, and when you're there, you forget how quick those games go by.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, and we see with
hours.
the CBL, but the 10-minute quarter is totally different. And they got caught in the first quarter on ball movement, which obviously European teams do, and with teams that are playing for years and years. I think that could kind of bite them again. The U.S., but... having said that, there's so much talent they're going to throw at.
And they didn't even
right?
have Durant. I mean, there's so much talent, and Steve Kerr is a master of, I think, kind of along the lines of what people associated with Phil Jackson back in the day, kind of that Zen master kind of guy, draws the best out of people. But it's going to be interesting. But now let's go to Canada, though. When you look at Canada, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is obviously the pinnacle of the Canadian talent pool, but they have a lot of good players on that team.
A lot of good players. Well, I think Sweeney posted there could be a Canada roster 2.0 that's pretty good, right? I mean, with enough talent. They don't have the size. Everyone's talked about this, so it's going to come down to guard play. It's going to come down to shooting, and even in the game that was on Wednesday, if they would have just hit some shots, there were some great looks, some great kickouts, and guys just weren't dropping. They thought 30-some% from the field goal percentage. So. I mean, they're there, but they've got to take chances on their opportunities. And you see that in the FIBA game all the time. If you don't take a chance on your opportunities, you're done. There is no other chance. You have to capitalize on every time. So it's just going to come down to, as simple as it is, I think really hitting shots, because they're not going to be able to have the size. And Olynyk was great. He's still... I mean, the guy doesn't make a bad play on the court. He honestly doesn't. I was waiting for him to do something stupid, but he really is just a smart player. But he doesn't have the kind of size to match up against some of these guys.
And I mean, the gaping hole within the Canada team is the post.
Yeah.
The 5 spot is a gaping hole. Yeah. Dwight Powell hardly played for the Mavericks this year. Kelly is a really good player, like you say. Kem Birch played overseas, and Kem's a good player. Mm-hmm. He's a hustler. He can work hard. So, I mean, they've got guys, but the FIBA guys are different because they're big, wide-shouldered, broad guys parked in the middle, beating you up in the low post. And so, having said that, though, Jordi Fernandez knows, eats, dreams, sleeps FIBA basketball.
Yes.
That's the edge that Canada, I think, has added into their team, both on the men's and the women's side. They have hired great out-of-country FIBA coaches specifically for this moment to be able to get these teams ready for it. And then when you have a game breaker like Gilgeous-Alexander and add in Jamal Murray, RJ, other players. I mean, Dylan Brooks. I mean, he had 39 last year when they beat the Americans for bronze. I mean, Brooks can flat out play. So it's going to be interesting to see how they adapt. That post is a big deal. The post play is a big deal. And they are in a pool. I mean, oftentimes it's used in describing pool play, but the pool of death. They're in the pool of death. That is if they come out, whoever comes out of that pool will have earned every point
100%
on every possession, because that is brutal.
But I think there's a lot of percent. Are the Aussies the same team that they were 4 years ago?
They are not.
And is Spain the same kind of squad that they have been, right? And, Greece is going to be an interesting matchup too. But, how much depth do they really have? Canada's got the depth. They can play their game. They know what kind of the path is ahead of them to do it. And like I said, it's just about them stepping up and executing on that kind of plan, right?
And that's what Jordi Fernandez is getting.
And he'll be ready.
To do.
He'll be ready to do. I mean, they know all these guys. It is a little too bad. They're in a group where they just got 2 qualifiers last week. I mean, that's some of these other ones they've been planning for these teams for a while, right?
Yep.
But they know they had to play Australia. So I don't know, man. I'm excited for it, and to be down there to see that, and to see Curry and LeBron play together, and to see Shea and Murray and all these Canadians there, and the Canada jerseys that were around and people into it was pretty cool. So had to be there, special.
Great event. And what struck me is they did one of the outside drone shots, and you got the new sphere, and I mean the whole Vegas setting. There's just nothing like it. So good on you that you were able to be there, Reed. Thanks for sharing your experience down there. Welcome back to the Basketball Show, Sports 1440. Paul with Ryan and Brian. And Ryan, let's start out with a poll update.
Over on Twitter, Basketball_Show, we were talking about the WNBA Rookie of the Year race. So far, Clarke has recorded 83% of the vote. Angel Reese in second place with 11.4% of the vote. And Other actually has 3 votes on the record so far, 5.7%. Make sure to head on over to Twitter, cast your vote now, and let us know your thoughts in the comments.
And if you have any opinions that you'd like to share with us about why you're voting for a particular player, whether it's Clarke or Reese or Other, you can text us at 833-401-1440. Again, 833-401-1440. Guys, we're going to dive into the Canada Olympic teams. There has never been this kind of excitement about Canada sending not 1, not 2, but 3 teams to the Olympics for basketball competitions. One reason is the men haven't qualified for over 20 years. So this is exciting in and of itself. But not only that, it's the teams that our teams are comprised of such great athletes. We're going to start with 3x3 because of its tremendous Edmonton relevance and content. All 4 athletes are from Alberta, more specifically. Michelle and Catherine Plouffe are from Edmonton, of course. They're one of the favorites. They're the 2-time defending world champion. They're going to be facing tough competition. In the power rankings and from various power ranking services that I've read, it seems pretty much a consensus that the USA is the favorite, but Canada is second, followed by Australia and France. This last weekend, the Canada team rolled through its games. It was not a particularly strong field that was part of the women's series, but be that as it may, the Canada women just absolutely decimated everyone, with Catherine Plouffe being named as the MVP of the women's series at the Hoop City Festival. So, Brian, I'll jump to you first. What's your overarching thought? Michelle had a knee injury. She's worked her way back. This team is firing on all cylinders going into the event. What has to happen for Canada to be on the podium in 3x3 women's?
The 3x3 tournaments in general, Paul, always fascinate me because, and Steve talked about this when he was on earlier, if you have a bad quarter in 5-on-5, well, you just, you kind of regroup and you go back out there. You still have 3 quarters of the game left. If you have a bad 10 minutes in 3x3, you've lost the game, right? So it just, to me, that makes it makes it that much more of a crapshoot, I think. So I think that fascinates me about this tournament in general. I think you got to have a bit of luck on your side. You mentioned the injury situation, and hopefully they're at 100% or as close to 100% as possible, so that they, when you get this opportunity to get to this stage, you want to see them to be able to perform to the best of that they can, the best of their ability. I think too, there's so many different external factors in this, but one thing I was thinking about recently is just the fact that Michelle and Catherine have been on this stage before. They have been in Olympics before, and they have been at an Olympics that is a true Olympics. And by that, I mean not the pandemic games, which, in 2021, there was, there were not many fans. It was just a different environment, a much different environment as sports were in general at that point in time. Michelle and Catherine have been here. They've gone and they played on the Olympic stage, gone through the opening ceremonies, gone through all the pomp and pageantry, played in Brazil in a very intense environment. And so they know what to expect. And you look at the rest of the 3x3 field, because 3x3 is only in its second go-round at the Olympics, I'm not sure if anyone else on any other team has that kind of experience to draw from. So these are all just kind of external factors, but I think that's a big part of it because it is such a crapshoot in 3x3.
I think that's a great point. They bring that very real experience that I'd be hard pressed to think any of the other teams. The Americans certainly didn't because they're too young. As far as other teams go, I don't know, but I would venture to guess the only 2 Olympians in 3x3 would be the Plouffe sisters. So I see that as a tremendous advantage. Never mind the fact that they're the two best players in the world. I mean, that certainly factors into it as well.
I think that experience will allow them to be the two best players in the world, because none of this stuff is going to throw them off their game. And that's why I say, too, hopefully the health is something that allows them to perform to their maximum capability as well.
And I think it does. And when you look at what Michelle and Catherine, along with Paige Crozen and Casey Bosch, what they've gone through to reach their goal, and the fact that they're going into it healthier than they've been in a long, long time, I think we all have reason to be excited that this is a team, honestly, that we not only hope for, but we expect to see on the podium. And that's not meant to be pressure. That's meant to be a tribute to how good these women are. Let's jump over to the 3x3 5-on-5 women's team. Power rankings that I was reading over the weekend have Canada at 7th going into the women's competition. Now, they've been preparing well. I look at their roster. It's a really good roster, but one thing that is, I believe, missing is I don't see that player. There's not a Gilgis Alexander on the women's team. I mean, Kia Nurse is a great player. She's a real, solid, but I would call her a solid WNBA player. She's not a star WNBA player. And I think if Canada has a challenge, they're going to have to win by committee. And that's tough. That is really tough in the Olympics, that when you have to manufacture all of your points through a variety of different ways. Bridget Carleton, she's capable on nights of getting you 20. She's also capable, like she was with the Lynx last night, of getting you 2, because she's a shooter, and if teams focus on her, they're going to take her shot away and force somebody else to beat you. So I'll go back again to you, Brian, on this, because of your following the women's national team so closely all over the years, especially with the fact that they've made, up until the last couple of years, their training base here in Edmonton. You are very familiar with their personnel. What are your thoughts on their chances to medal?
I think you had a bang-on assessment there, Paul. They don't have that person necessarily who's going to pick them up and carry them when things get tough. And I don't think they had that the last Olympic Games either, and I think that was part of their downfall. Even just getting to this point, like they didn't, when they needed someone to step up for them in that big game at the Olympic qualifier, they didn't necessarily have it. They had to get help from other teams to get in there. So they got in by the skin of their teeth. Exactly. Like they didn't win the game when they had to. They had to get somebody else to knock somebody else off to get them there. So I don't know if they have that one player. They have a lot of great players, or a lot of very good players, I should say, and I think they have some younger players that I'm looking to that I'm very excited that could potentially be that person maybe the next go round. But yeah, you're right, Paul. It's going to have to be done by committee. I think they're number 7. You said in the power rankings, was it? That's probably about a fair assessment. They're a younger roster, and I think we're starting to see a bit of a changing of the guard. And I'm very excited for what this team will be in 2028. I think there'll be some key experience here this year. Silas Swords has been put on the team at just 18. She's the youngest Canadian ever to make an Olympic basketball team, either men or women. So that's going to be amazing. That's key experience for her. We know all about Yvonne Angem, Alberta's very own. She is going to get some big key experience here too. So, and then you're right. It'll come down to, Kia isn't quite the same player she has been. No. Big Kia fan, but the statistics, you can look at that. That'll tell you out. Her scoring has declined the last few seasons now, and it's been that way for 2 or 3 years going on. It's not a blip on the radar. Bridget Carleton has really stepped up this year. I know she had a tough game last night, but she has had some huge games, some really huge games. She's really stepped up to a level I wasn't sure if I expected her to. So it'll be interesting to see if maybe she can carry some of that. And she's delivered in big games this year too, Paul. I don't know if you saw the Commissioner's Cup game.
Oh, Bridget's been fantastic, and of course I'm a homer. She went to Iowa State, so I thought the sky was the limit. But Bridget's really good, and she has benefited from the Minnesota Lynx, and the WNBA being very patient with her and helping her develop.
Yeah, that's very true.
Helping her develop because she has a specific style of play.
Yep.
She's primarily a shooter, but she has diversified now how she's able to get her shot. She's even able to create her shot in certain situations that she wasn't able to a few years ago. So I agree with you, Brian. I look to her to be the leader. The tough part about being a leader as a shooter is that if you have an off night, then it's tough. Like you need that dog. You need that Gilgeous Alexander who can create shots in such a variety of ways. And that's a great segue over into the men's power ranking. Right now, the power rankings have Canada as 5th, which is interesting. Behind USA, Germany, the defending world champion, France, home court advantage with 2 monsters in the middle and a lot of good players around them, and Serbia with Nikola Jokic. So they have Canada as 5th. But I thought what was interesting, I wanted to do a comparison because much is made, and oftentimes I think too much is made of the fact that we have an NBA roster. NBA is the greatest league in the world with an asterisk by it because they have under 11 age group rules that restrict defense so much that oftentimes I think the offensive skills of these tremendous athletes is skewed so much because of the restrictions on the defense. Now, as mentioned earlier in the show, those are out the window. Big guys can stand in the middle now, and you aren't going to be able to move them out. But I went through the NBA rankings of players, and on the U.S. team, the first top 4 ranked players are foreign players in the NBA now. And Gilgeous Alexander is ranked 4th in the NBA. Jokic, number 1. And then after that, Jamal Murray, 20th. Dylan Brooks, 83rd. R.J. Barrett, 99th. And then the other players are out of the top 100 in the NBA. The U.S. Tatum's the top-ranked player at 5th. But they have, then it's 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, 12th, 13th. That, have just so much talent there. And then when you switch over to the European teams, Germany, they have NBA players too that are really good. And then they have those EuroLeague players. Same with France, same with Serbia. So for Canada, this is going to be interesting. And we touched on that earlier with Reed. Reed made the observation. Without the big guy in the middle, that's their biggest limitation to me. The wings are going to be very capable. The guards are going to be outstanding. Gilgeous Alexander is going to be a killer in this event. But 40-minute game, again, the defensive restrictions off, real basketball is being played. Canada's going to be Jordi Fernandez is a phenomenal coach, as is Victor for the women. Canada basketball has done a great job in selecting their head coaches for the men's and women's 5-on-5 programs. So, Ryan, you as a fan, what are your thoughts? Like, what do you think Canada has what it takes to get to the podium with this existing roster?
Yes, it's going to be tough. As you saw with the Americans in that game against Canada during the start, a little bit discombobulation is going to happen when you have a bunch of players that are used to being they're on their own team with their own teammates, right? You notice with a lot of these European teams like France and Serbia, they played a couple of days ago. Serbia won. Jokic dominated, actually, surprisingly, in the paint with those 2 monsters in there. But they have that fluidity with each other already. I've been playing together forever. Canada's team just kind of came together. And the States even more so, where it's just a bunch of players playing together and it takes a while to get used to. What I'd guess in the tournament is, for what happens is the European teams are going to come out of the gate right away and play together and play as one, and it's going to look more fluid. But as the tournament moves along, the States and Canada will start to play together more, and then eventually I do think the States will win the gold, and then Canada will be either silver or bronze.
Brian, how about yourself?
The lack of size concerns me.
And it should.
And it
really should.
It really concerned me. But you know what? You guys made some good points earlier on. I think it was you, Paul, said that Coach Fernandez really didn't want to show his hand.
Yes.
On Wednesday night. But like that, to me, that game just saw that it's like, who are we trotting out there? Are we going to go with Dwight Powell, Khem Birch? I mean, it's pretty slim pickings there. And you just said that in this tournament, the big guys are going to be able to be big guys. And how do we match up when in games? I mean, there's going to be a lot of games where the talent is just going to, some vastly superior talent can get this team can beat a lot of other countries based on that alone. But matching up against a team that has Joel Embiid, matching up against a team that has Nikola Jokic. You go on down the list. How do you counter that? And there wasn't a lot that I saw on Wednesday night that gave me a lot of hope in that respect. But I'm not putting any stock on that either, too, because like you said, made the point that they brought in other guys that aren't going to be on the Olympic team, giving them some playing time as they should. So I really don't know what to expect, Paul. That is a concern.
Well, I think what I'm going to be curious is how teams defend Gilgeous-Alexander. Because, if I'm a coach and I'm looking at Canada, the only priority I would have would be that how do you stop him? Because if you can slow him down, now you're forcing other players. And RJ showed the other night he's a very capable scorer, and he's had success at the international level too, winning a gold medal for Canada basketball. Was it U19 team where they won the gold?
Yeah. Yeah, that's right.
So you have a guy there with international success. So RJ's used to competing.
Jamal Murray at the Pan Am Games.
Pan Am Games. So, and we haven't talked about Jamal Murray too much. And by the way, I found some of the controversy around his contract, focusing on his conditioning, quite interesting. But that maybe is a topic for another show. But Canada has other pieces that are really good pieces with a great coach who is going to whip them in. And I liked your point, Ryan, about getting better game on game. They're in a tough pool. They really are. They're going to have to fight hard to get out of the pool. That's going to be job number one. But job number two, when they get into it, honestly, I think I would give them a 50-50 chance of medaling. That's kind of where I'm at right now. And I want to say more. I really do. But I just look at their lack of experience as a unit on the international scene. This is where Canada suffers so much from not being in the Olympics for 24 years. They haven't been here. And I'll tell you what, these dogs from Europe, when they get here, it's a different, you're talking Dobermans now. This is a whole different deal. And our guys will compete with anybody, in terms of competition, no doubt about it. But Dylan Brooks isn't going to stand out here as being a tough guy. He's just another one of the guys that are tough that are going to be playing here. So they're going to have to rely on a lot more. And that lack of size is that's why I bring it down to 50-50, is because what are they going to do with Jokic? Really and truly, how are they going to be able to handle him? I just don't see, and the Serbian team is so good and so good with Jokic, and their style of play is so ideal for FIBA. So I hope I'm wrong in that case. But right now, if I had to pick who's going to medal in the Olympics and rank of our three teams going, I'd go 1 3x3, 2 men, 3 women, 5-on-5 teams. And I hope all three get to the podium. The fact that we have 3 going is exciting. It's too bad the men's 3x3 program is so neglected, but that's, again, a topic for another time and another era with the LA Olympics coming up. So we're going to take a break right now. And when we come back, we have a special guest from Las Vegas who's going to talk to us about also being at the U.S.-Canada games, but also in the Summer League. And we're going to talk Toronto Raptors right here on the Basketball Show on Sports 1440. Welcome back to the Basketball Show. We are pleased to be joined by Libaan Osman, who is the digital producer and basketball writer for the Toronto Star. He's in Las Vegas. Libaan, thanks so much for joining us.
Appreciate you guys for having me.
Well, it's great to have you here. So you're in Vegas, nice and cool.
Yep.
Probably have to wear a sweater now and then, but you went to the USA-Canada game the other night. Give us your impressions.
Yeah, it was a very star-studded event. I would say early on, Canada, I feel like, shocked a lot of people, 11-1 run. And then for me, it just turned into an NBA All-Star game where USA was just running a fast break. And you kind of just saw a few, I was at all the USA practices, and it didn't seem like they were taking what was that game with Canada, the exhibition games, that serious. They weren't really going too extreme with their sets or whatever it was. They were implementing, obviously, Steve Kerr, Golden State coach. That was kind of what they had in plan. I didn't think they were going to be that serious, but then they just run the fast break, and it's like you see the amount of talent, you see the size that Canada was struggling to deal with, and you're like, okay, this team's probably just going to run through the Olympics, right? So that was my early impressions, but obviously I think it's still, obviously, the Canada was really showing their full hand, but there's still a lot of concern, I would say, just from my perspective, just seeing the first exhibition game. But I also don't think Canada's going to shoot below 35% again in a game like this, right? But, yeah, a lot of takeaways and just kind of surprised how dominant the U.S. was early on.
What I found interesting after the game, Libaan, was Jordi Fernandez's reaction, that he didn't like the way the team played. I thought that was interesting because, to your point, he certainly didn't play his hand. I mean, he played Jamal and Shea both under 20 minutes. He gave a lot of court time to a lot of players. So this was truly handled like a preseason exhibition game would be handled. So yeah, we really don't know where they fall, but I think the truism that I took from it as well is the biggest challenge Steve Kerr is going to have is how does he play these guys, because the talent is just off the charts.
Yeah. Yeah, and you were watching LeBron James, Steph Curry. I thought the second unit was more impressive. Like, they just destroyed Canada's bench. And it was like, what? This team should be starting their bench instead of the starters. Seems like those guys, the young stars on USA, are the ones that might be the most threatening when it comes to Olympic basketball. And yeah, I think Jordy was kind of upset just because he emphasized that they're going to run to death. They're going to run teams to death in the fast break, and that's going to be what's their strength. But USA did that to them. So I think that kind of was maybe embarrassing. And they've been practicing like for maybe two almost 3 weeks since like June, right after the NBA draft, around June 28th. And the U.S. practiced for 3-4 days, and this was the outcome. So I think when you look at that, it's like, okay, the U.S. just had 3-4 days of practice, and we had 2 weeks. Do we have a chance? That's my question, right? But obviously it's the long run, and what I think will be very beneficial for Canada is right after this game, they're headed to France. So they're there for the next 2-3 weeks for the Olympic starts, while the U.S. is traveling to Abu Dhabi. They're going to the U.K. Obviously, a lot of countries are going to get the chance to see them play, but I don't know how that's going to impact whether it's jet lag or not being able to settle down in France right before the Olympics. So Canada's going to be there, be able to practice, play some exhibition games in France, and kind of prepare and be able to adjust to what's going to happen in the Olympics ahead of time and be there in France to prepare. So I think it's good for them just being able to get there early, and obviously we'll get to see them in those exhibition games and see how they look and how they improve. And I just think also this was Canada's worst performance they could ever have. I don't think Jamal Murray and Shea shoot that bad ever again. And and then obviously I think you have to stagger those guys. I don't think Jordy's going to be playing those guys together that much, but I think this is just a lot of positives, but a lot concerning with Canada's size, because I don't know what you're going to do when you face Anthony Davis again, if you face Joel Embiid, if you face Jokic again, right? Like it's like, or Giannis. I don't know if you can deal with the Giannis. Like it's very concerning with the size, or Victor Wembanyama, Rudy Gobert. What are you going to do, really?
Well, and I think you've just identified that's the big gaping hole that Jordi Fernandez is going to have to find ways with duct tape and bale wire to try to work around, because it will be a workaround, and being able to accentuate, as you're pointing out, Libaan, about the excellence that you expect from Gilgeous-Alexander, et cetera. But in a previous segment, we were talking about just going through the top 100 NBA rankings for players. That Gilgeous-Alexander is number 4, Murray's number 20, and Brooks and Barrett are the only other two in the top 100, where the U.S., they have like 5 through 13. And, and I mean, and that doesn't include what I think is the X factor for the Americans, and that's the defensive capability at the guard position of Drew Holiday and Derek White. I mean, they're 37th and 38th in terms of ranking, and I don't want to put too much stock in that. But to me, they're the X factor for the Americans, is their ability to lock down people. They're big, they're strong, they're fast. And what we saw against Dallas in the NBA Finals, that's an X factor. Add in their size, add in their skill. I mean, to me, like you, it will just take an extraordinary moment for a Serbia or someone or a France to have that night against the Americans and just have the rules of the FIBA game being able to plug the middle up to upset the Americans in the Olympics. And I'm talking with Libaan Osman, the digital producer and basketball writer for the Toronto Star here on the Basketball Show. Talk about Summer League and the Toronto Raptors, Libaan. Like, that kind of has fallen to the wayside. I think the draft for the Raptors was interesting, certainly not overwhelming. It's been well documented and lots of attention is being paid to what are the Raptors doing to address their weaknesses. What have you seen in the Summer League right now that would give you hope or would be surprising on the negative side for the Raptors Summer League team?
Yeah, first day of practice, Darko Rajakovic, Raptors head coach, kind of shocked me. I would say a few of the media too, because he was saying, like, his first kind of words were saying, this is year one of our rebuild. And I think a lot of people, it feels like there's a lot of mixed messaging going on with the Raptors. He's saying it's a rebuild.
Wow.
I think Masai and Scotty and them are saying we want to win right now. This is a retool. At the end of the day, like, this team is not ready to compete in a playoff run at all. They don't have the talent for it. I think they're a playing team at best. I think they should be putting their eggs potentially not tanking because they're not going to be as worse as, say, a Washington, a Detroit, other teams that are definitely going to be tanking. But this draft is so good next year, the 2025 NBA draft, that if you end up with a top, say, 8, 9 pick, you might still end up with a potential star player. That's how amazing this draft is compared to this past draft. So I really think this should be a big development year when you're giving guys like Grady Dick an opportunity. I heard he's been training hard with one of the Raptors assistant coach back in Kansas, where they're putting so much development time with him. I think Jacoby Walter, he ended up slipping in the draft. I thought he was a potential lottery guy, ends up falling to Toronto at 19. I think he has a great chance to be out on the perimeter, be one of those guys where Scotty's driving. He has the opportunity to catch and shoot. He's really good at that. And a few of the other picks I think are really interesting. Ulrich Kamchi, he's very much a big project. The Raptors picked him, I think, with the 57th pick in the second round. He's very much a project development. I expect him to be in the G League for some time. But a lot of intriguing pieces like Jonathan Mogbo, Jamal Shed, who's like one of the best college players this past year. So I think a lot of it was kind of mixed messaging, but when you look at how they drafted, like early on in the year, they were saying they don't think they're going to be picking more than 2 players in the draft, and they go out and they get 4. So it's very much like, hey, are you trying to compete or are you playing the field? Because I could say there may be one injury away, knock on wood, a Jakob injury away from being a terrible team, right? Where they don't have the size, who's playing center for this team. It's very much scary when you think about it, right? So I think it's I don't know where this Raptors team's at. I think a lot of people don't know where this Raptors team's at. But at the end of the day, also they just gave those big contracts to Scotty and Manu quickly. We have to see how they perform. So I think it's very much like mixed messaging. That's my understanding of it. I just don't know what to expect with this team. But I don't expect them to be bottom out right away. I expect them to try to win, but I don't think it will end up that great for them.
I think it's a great summary, to be honest, Osman. And if you really cut to the chase of what the Raptors are putting on the court this next year, it's a rebuild, and it should be. Whether you say it or you don't, it should be, and it needs to be, because they need to get positioned to get the top 8 or 9. One of the top 8 or 9 picks next year, if they have a chance to get good, because this lineup, and with their depth and their bench, they just don't have the chance to be in the conversation at all, to be an elite team in the Eastern Conference. I think you're right on the mark, and so vulnerable as we saw last year to injuries. They're just way too thin, and the pickups are interesting and intriguing, and hopefully some will develop. But we'll have to wait and see to what level. I'm really looking forward to Grady Dick this year and seeing how he develops, seeing RJ and quickly, in their first full season with the team. I think they're good players. Jakob's solid. Hopefully he stays healthy. And, of course, Scotty Barnes continue on his ascent into being a true star in the league. So really appreciate the summary. The Vegas Summer League's a lot of fun, isn't it?
Yeah, it's too hot here, though. I'll say this. Like, Vegas is not a place where I'm here for, I think, 8-7 days. I'll be leaving Monday night. I'll be watching 2 of the Raptors games. Summer League, they're facing OKC today, I think, maybe around later this evening. And I'm just like, this is too hot for me. Vegas
it's a different deal.
Crazy. Yeah, but it's exciting.
But it's dry heat. It's a dry heat, Libaan.
That's the thing, right? It's like you get outside and you're like, yeah, I can't be here no longer. But basketball 24/7. That's what I'll call it. And everyone that is in the NBA, in the basketball world, is here. It's one of those places where you can just sit down with randomly chat with an NBA executive to your right or an NBA legend to your left, right? So that's the beauty of Summer League.
It really is. Libaan Osman, digital producer, basketball writer for the Toronto Star. Thanks so much for joining us today. I hope we can do this again.
Of course. Appreciate it.
Libaan Osman, Toronto Star, joining us today. We're going to take a break right now, come back with our final segment today, and it's going to be a little bit saucy as we dive into some opinions, let's call them, on the WNBA rookie race here on the Basketball Show on Sports 1440. Welcome back to our final segment on the Basketball Show, Sports 1440. After such great weather over this past couple of weeks, the great weather last weekend for Hoop City 3x3. Hope you're all getting your weekend off to a wonderful start. We're going to take the gloves off right now. We're going to talk about the WNBA Rookie of the Year controversy. I guess I'll couch it like that. I'll frame it like that. First of all, just a real quick update, Ryan, on our poll numbers. Last time it was 83-11, I believe. Are we still around that?
It's hovered around there. Angels now down to 10. Other picked up another vote at 6.4% now.
And Brian, your theory is that's Aaliyah Edwards, the great Duke player, Canadian player.
It's either the hometown, we'll call it the home nation sentimental votes, or the Cameron crazies, the Cameron Brink fans.
Okay, that could be. All right, I'm going to put you on the spot right out of the gate here, Brian. Angel Reese or Caitlin Clarke, Rookie of the Year?
Well, I'm going to say Caitlin Clarke, but I think it's a lot closer than what is it? 80%?
83.3 to 10.3.
83.3 to 10.3. I think these are two of the most phenomenal rookie seasons we've seen going on simultaneously, and I think Caitlin Clarke is getting, and rightfully so, all the love in the world, and she's a phenomenon, not just on the court, but what she has meant for the exposure of the game. I just think Angel Reese, like, what she's doing, she has taken, and well, here's the thing. Both players have come in and taken teams that weren't supposed to do anything this year and were not good last year and have elevated them into contending for playoff spots. They both have their teams ahead of schedule. They both have had dominant games. They're both setting Caitlin Clarke is setting all kinds of records with triple-double. She had the first triple-double as a rookie. Angel Reese had the most double-doubles consecutively as a rookie. I mean, you can throw out the numbers either way. I just look at the impact they're each having on their respective teams, and I don't see the big gap.
I don't. Okay, Ryan, I'm going to jump to you. Is there a big gap between Angel Reese and Caitlin Clarke for the Rookie of the Year voting?
I think there's a decent gap. It's not like a landslide, but I don't think the 83% of people thinking she's Rookie of the Year is insane. The only thing Angel Reese does better than Caitlin Clarke is rebound. That's it. She doesn't shoot better from the field.
I mean, statistically speaking, yes.
Well, what else?
Well, if we're just comparing stats, yes, right. But we'll put it like this way: who's the better defender?
On the perimeter, it's still Caitlin Clarke. In the paint, it's Angel Reese.
That's fair.
But who affects the game more defensively? I think Angel Reese affects the game more defensively. I understand we're comparing apples to oranges because you're right. Caitlin Clarke is perimeter and Angel Reese is in the post there. But I think she in fact affects the game more that way. Caitlin obviously affects the game much more substantially offensively.
Yes.
I don't agree, and here's why. I think Angel Reese is a real good interior defender. a phenomenal rebounder, certainly the best rookie rebounder that the WNBA has ever had, as their statistics would indicate, at least to the best of my knowledge. She's an excellent basketball player in all respects. She also, and I'm sorry, Brian, you can help me out, the post player from South Carolina that's also playing for Chicago.
Yeah, I know the names escape me right now.
That names escapes me right now.
We'll find that out.
You see, I think that's overshadowed here a bit.
Cardoso?
In that
Camila Cardoso?
Yeah, Cardoso.
There you go.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you, Ryan.
You've got two bigs that have added a tremendous inside presence. Obviously, Angel Reese is a better player than Cardoso is at this juncture in the early stages of the WNBA. But Cardoso also contributes to Reese's ability, similar to what I would say to when Charles Barkley or Dennis Rodman would lead the league in rebounding. They were the off-ball rebounders, and Angel Reese is really good at that. She's really good at in-tight rebounding and long rebounding as well. She's exceptional. Her ability to score around the basket, exceptional. Defensively, I don't think that's fair because it's apples and oranges. Caitlin Clarke has been, I think, a surprisingly competent perimeter defender, and her anticipation skills, which lead to her incredible assist statistics. When you look at how many games she has multiple steals, and not only that, multiple blocks in a game because she anticipates guards shooting so well. Like when you see a guard having 2, 3, 4 block shots per game, that's unusual. That's exceptional. And right now what we're seeing is there was a real unevenness in her performances early. Like her stats were a lot of times 13-7, 11-6. Now all of a sudden they're 20-13. She's consistently having double doubles. And I would venture to say, and there can be exceptions, the difference between a 20-point and 13 assist game and a 10-point and 10 rebound game, I would always give to the assists because you're setting other teammates up to be effective in the flow of the game. I mean, they walloped a good team yesterday, and Clarke, again, 13 assists. She's had games where in 5 statistical categories, she's had devastating numbers. Like she's altering the league, not just the attention she's bringing and the excitement she's created, because that statistically is undeniable, but not the basis for being Rookie of the Year. But she's also altering how the game's played because of her versatility as a guard. There are other really great guards out there. She's not the best guard in the league, but she's certainly she's becoming one of the most versatile guards you've ever seen in the WNBA. So, what do you think, Brian?
I think she's devastating. What did you say? Devastating stats in 6 categories when you could factor in turnovers. But
yes, that's right.
Yes.
She does turn it over.
Yes,
and you love that stat.
You love to
point that out.
It's the turnover stat is unbelievable. But anyway, I digress. I think Caitlin Clarke is the Rookie of the Year. I want to, when I look at these, like how much of a landslide this is, I just want I hope people understand what Angel Reese is. She's such a...
She's really good.
She is a really good player. And she is
really good.
She is, I guess I would use the term pit bull, right? She is just like, she's just tough. Ferocious in there. And so is Caitlin Clarke. So ultimately, I hate that we have to it almost seems like we kind of have to tear down one to support the other. I'm not saying us, but I think a lot of the conversation around this involves that. You're like either team Caitlin or team Angel Reese. I think that's probably why I want to make sure that Angel Reese gets her deserved flowers as well. Because I think we should be celebrating both of these players.
And I think we are. But here's the difference. We had talked before the show about the only comparison that you could make here would be the Larry Bird, Magic Johnson entry into the league in terms of 2 players. Like, how do you pick one as Rookie of the Year over the other when you talk about Bird and Magic? when one got the MVP, the other was upset. That's a very accurate portrayal to me for a lot of different reasons. And what I think, though, the difference is we have the gasoline of social media, the throw on the fire that results in all of these vicious, polarizing comments. Right, Ryan?
I'd actually compare. You mentioned Magic and Larry Bird. I'd actually compare it to Wembanyama and Chet from last year a little bit, where I think the gap is there.
Oh, excuse me while I yawn here. I have to remember you're only 21 to compare Bird Magic with Wembanyama and Chet Holmgren.
No. I think it's because this is wait. So I think it's because it's the gap. Like I think it's like still going to be Caitlin Clarke, and if I was a betting man, I'd bet on her being the Rookie of the Year.
Well,
just like
I mean,
last
put your
year
money
I bet
on her,
Wembanyama.
everybody. Put your money on her. I'm
exactly.
not saying
That's what I'm saying. Wembanyama was obviously Rookie of the Year last year, but Chet was a very, very good player that would have won Rookie of the Year in most other years. But he just wasn't like in my head. It was like never going to happen.
Well, Chet got a lot of love because of the incredible success of their team and how much his presence on that team played a role in them being able to get to the level they're at there now. But I think, like I said off the top here, like I think with both of these players have their teams ahead of schedule, way ahead of schedule in their rebuild, and they're both the biggest reason that they're in the playoff mix right now. I think actually Indiana has a playoff spot right now. I think they got number 8 and Chicago's got number 9, and neither one of them was supposed to be in this conversation.
Well, and go ahead, Ryan.
Sorry, I just meant like no, the players at all are not similar whatsoever. It's just I just meant like the gap in the media hype with it. So I think it's like it was obviously going to be Wembanyama the whole time, but that doesn't mean Chet's a bad player.
No,
that was my point.
That actually is a good point. And sorry for an old guy. Anyone that assaults Mount, Bird, and Magic in terms of rivalry and impact on the league.
Like 20 years before I was alive.
I know. Then they only saved the NBA. And Bird only took Boston from 21 wins to 61 wins in 1 year. I mean, the impact and Magic won a high school championship. 2 years later, won an NCAA championship. 1 year later, won an NBA championship. It's remarkable to think of, but this is a different era of basketball. Players don't come into the league now and transform teams like they used to because the depth of talent is too good now across the spectrum in both men's and women's basketball.
That's what makes this so exciting is that these players are transforming their teams.
They are transforming their teams in an era where there's a broader range of talent, and you've got the gasoline of social media fueling this us against them mentality. And I think, is it a shame? I don't think so. It's controversial. It's uncomfortable. It's awkward at times. I think what I find the most egregious has been, and maybe it's starting to settle down now, thankfully, is the resentment of Caitlin Clarke coming into the league and drawing an unparalleled attention to the league, which has opened up doors for all of the players in the WNBA, and yet there's been all of this negativity, which, by the way, she has handled gracefully and with so much, with just ignoring it and just not allowing herself to go down the path of getting engaged in any of the little knife fights that people seem to want to start.
I think she's winning slowly but surely, well, not even slowly. It's happening pretty quickly. She's winning over her detractors, or maybe I won't even say they're detractors. It's just, I'm sure it was like this.
Her doubters.
It was like this when LeBron James came into the league with all the hype. It was like this when Michael Jordan came into the league with all the hype. There's a bit of natural resentment. Let's test out the rookie. You got to prove yourself. And she's proving herself. And I think really, Paul, like when you go back to those players, it's often in situations like the All-Star game when they get to know each other, they get to hang out, and those walls start to come down. And I think that's why it's so great that Caitlin Clarke and Angel Reese are both going to get to be part of the All-Star game next weekend, be around each other, and be around all these other players who maybe have had their thoughts about them. And I think this is, I think you're already, like you say, they're already starting to see that wall come down.
And it comes down to, when you talk about walls coming down, the great, almost legendary story of Magic going to Larry Bird's home.
The commercial, right?
Yeah, for the commercial for Converse.
Yeah.
I mean, and how the walls came down, and Mrs. Bird is telling Magic he's her favorite player and making him lunch. And those are just great stories. But when you talk about the human condition,
That's it.
This is the human condition.
That's it.
You build up walls and assumptions, negative assumptions about other people. And I've, experienced that a lot myself. And I think that you see that where people assume certain things about others that just aren't true. And when you get to know them, they're just people. Yeah. And they're both great, great players. And what a bounty for the WNBA. What a transformational bounty. And you know what's the interesting comment? We've got to jump off. I'm going to come back to this next week about what's so interesting about what this is doing for the WNBA in identifying opportunity in women's sport. I always have to close my shows with the reminder to all people. We lost our son, Ben, a year and a half ago. And Ben was always one who treated people kindly. Always treat others kindly. Tell those that you love them. You can't say that too much. You don't know what is going on in people's lives. We have to walk. We can't walk in each other's shoes, but we can always be kind to each other. Have a great week on and off the court. This has been a wonderful show. Enjoy the nice weather that we have in Edmonton, and we'll look forward to a great show again next weekend. Enjoy your week on and off the court. This is the Basketball Show on Sports 1440.